Hello, and welcome to another American Photo Trucks post-processing video. I'm Dave Soldano, and in this particular video we're going to go over post-processing one of the last images we took during our really fun trip to Yosemite just about 2 weeks ago. And it was a really fun trip. We had really great conditions, great reflections, and I'm just scratching the surface at some of the images that we took. I chose to post-process this particular image because I think it presents the greatest challenge for post-processing. It obviously created quite a challenge for exposure, but it was this really beautiful sunrise at tunnel view. Just great clouds, great color, everything, but boy, it was a real exposure challenge. So that's the one I'm choosing to show you how I post-process and how I tackle those particular challenges. And just for those of you who haven't watched one of my videos before, that's me. Hi. And then every time I hit a button on mouse click or anything else, it's going to show you right there what I'm doing, so you can follow along with me and, you know, pause the video as you need to come along. So if you'll remember, while we were taking these pictures, I was suggesting to bracket and kind of extreme bracket. And this is why. Let me open up. This is the center exposure image. Actually has a fairly, a decent histogram here. It isn't going off the edge on either place. But look, you are really dark here. You do have some color. But look at this area right here in particular. You're not seeing any color other than just kind of a warm white right there. But now, if you look at the -2, -3, and then really extreme -4 and 5 images, look at the color down here. I mean, there's some real color there that you just don't get to see with any, I know a lot of these cameras have great dynamic range these days, and they can do something like 16 stops and all this other type of stuff. But you just don't know what you don't know. Comparing that right there to this, I mean, this is really, you're not seeing that wonderful color that's right there unless you're really bracketing. So, but doing even any kind of HDR on an image that is this extreme in the exposure range is going to create a challenge, and you're going to need some advanced software to do it. So I looked at Lightroom and Camera RAW to do it, and it just didn't give me the pop that I wanted. I looked at a couple other things. The only thing that really worked for me was this. It's called Aurora HDR. It's made by the same people who do Luminar. And to me, it's the best HDR program out there. It's not perfect, but I don't think any of the HDR programs are, but it's very, very good. And I'll show you why right now. So let's get started on processing this image. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, I don't think we need this -5 one. I do like the color we got at this -4. -3, you still get the color, and you don't want to use images that you don't need, because that just creates, larger files. They're not necessarily as good. So I think I'm going to, this -2 and +3 have the detail in the foreground that I want. So I'm going to leave off the two darkest ones because I think we're getting what we need here. And I'm going to choose these 7 images. Now, all you have to do is highlight them. I'm using them in Bridge, then drag them to Aurora, drag them into Aurora, and there we go. And they're there, and and you can use raw files like I'm using and just say create HDR. Now, this is going to take a while because there's 7 large images. I think each one's 42 megapixels each. They're rather large files, so I'm just going to pause this here and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, I'm back. And this is the image that it created, and this is one of the reasons why I like this Aurora so well. it just create, you know, you didn't lose any color. You've got everything that you want here. Look at the detail here in the dark areas. It really just blended these difficult images together really, really well. And so I'm very happy with the results here. And now I'm just going to go through the a little bit of basic adjustments here. I don't like that. I don't like that either. And just try and get, I'm not going to do too much here because I'm going to do most of my stuff in Camera RAW. I do like this HDR clarity button, but like everything else, you can't use it. Smart structure, but you can't use it too much. Or the softness. When you have these dark areas with a lot of shadow, this softness button really helps create a more authentic looking picture. I'm going to use a different denoise program. Some radiance here. These are little, I'm using mostly just the ones that are for HDR. And that's about it for right now. One thing I am going to give just a little extra exposure here. Bring out the shadows down here. Maybe bring down that exposure now. And that's a good base image for me to work with here. So now I'm going to say File, wrong one. File and Export. And I'm going to export into a TIFF file. And the reason is because of a program I want to use once I create this. So resolution 240 should be fine. Rather use 16-bit, no compression, sRGB, and let's go ahead and export it. 16-bit gives me, when you do some of the more enhanced versions of processing, sometimes 16-bit shows you stuff that 8-bit just doesn't. So that's why I'm using 16-bit. So while it's exporting, again, I'll pause it just so we don't waste time, and I'll be back. All right, we're back, and this is the image that it created, and I'm going to start my processing in Adobe Camera RAW, which is very similar to Lightroom for those of you who use Lightroom. And so I'm going to filter, Camera RAW filter, and here it is. And pretty darn good as far as, you know, the shadows don't look too black and blown out. We've still got the color up here. Still has a long way to go to look beautiful. So profile, color, white balance. Let's see if we can warm it up just a tad. There we go. Not too much, but a little bit. And I like the green purple balance right here. Sometimes I just hit auto to see what it thinks. I rarely agree with it. I do agree with what it did with the shadows. A little tweak in the contrast here. Don't want too much of that. Texture down in there. Clarity. There we go. Now, I do want to dehaze because if you look close in the shadows, there is some haze here, but I'm going to wait to do that until I do another step in the process. So I'm going to come over here and take a quick look at our HSL sliders and just little tweaks to make things a little more interesting here. And really that's all I'm going to want to do right here. I don't want to over process this. Okay? And so we'll bring that back into Photoshop. And what you can see, we just enhanced it a little bit. Now, a couple things that I want to take care of right off the bat. And we'll go right back into Adobe Camera RAW. And anytime you start processing, you want to take care of any problems with the photograph before you start processing. And here we can see that we've got a little bit of fringing right through here, right? And that actually, if you'll look, that's just a result of the high contrast. That has nothing to do. Aurora HDR is very good about taking care of fringing. This was there from the high contrast. And we can see that this fringe has got a little bit of this orange area right here. And so what we do is we try and pick the color of the fringe as much as possible, and then we start defringing and we watch. And look at that. How amazing is that, right? It's kind of took it out there. And sometimes it'll, once you take out the purple, you'll see that it starts turning green. And if it does, that's when you move down to this green one. But here, it didn't really do that. So it did a good job with the fringe, as it usually does. Just amazing. If you don't use this defringe in Adobe Camera RAW or Lightroom, you're missing out, especially on high contrast images. So there we go. Took care of the fringe there. Now, something I've changed in my processing. I used to wait to the end to sharpen and denoise, and that has changed. I use Topaz AI to do that, and I have changed my belief because they said to do it right up front. And I said, well, you know, they want you to be successful with their software, so they're going to tell you what works best. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. And I now denoise first, then sharpen, and it's amazing the effect it has. And I got some spots here. Did a lot of lens switching there in Yosemite, and if you don't watch, that will get dust places. So obviously you want to take care of any little issues like that before you start doing any serious processing, or all you're going to do is enhance, you know, artifacts, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to take care of my little sensor spots here, or maybe they were on the back of the lens, wherever these little dust things were. I hate them, and they got to go. So just going down and taking care of that. I love this blast right in here that you're just absolutely not going to see unless you do some pretty extreme bracketing. All right, so now I've got rid of my dust spots. I've got a good base image, and I'm going to go ahead and go Filter, Topaz Labs, and I'm going to go Denoise AI. And this is amazing, absolutely amazing how well this works. And I'm just going to use you can use the split here to really see. There's the noise there, there's that. Let's hit auto, see what it does. Look at there, all that noise, and that noise is just gone. It's a pretty good camera. Even at high resolution, it doesn't produce a lot of noise, and this is really zoomed in. Let's move to other areas. Kind of see, it's particularly interested in around the rocks where things were darker. So let's move down to here around Half Dome. Take a look what the denoise does. So here's the split, before, after. That's pretty dramatic. And so there we go. I'm not going to enhance sharpness too much with this because I'm going to do something else. Then we're going to say apply. And this takes a little while because it really gets into the weeds and goes real deep. So again, I'll pause it. Okay, Topaz Denoise AI has done its thing, and I'm very happy with the result. And now again, before I start processing this to add pop, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen now, which a lot of people are like, wait, you sharpen at the end. Well, I've changed my point of view on that. And now I'm going to use Topaz Sharpen AI, and do it right at the beginning because Topaz recommended it, and I don't disagree with it. I think sharpening at the beginning is a pretty smart move. And so again, I'm going to move down here where I'm most concerned about this. There we go. Hit that split. And I'm going to hit auto. Let it do its thing. I think it already has. You can see it's just better. I just used auto, and I'm going to say apply. Let it do its thing. And again, this takes a little while, so I'm going to hit pause. Okay, Topaz Sharpen AI has done its thing, and so now I've created my image here, and I created my HDR, I defringed, I removed the artifacts, I denoised, and then I sharpened. Now I'm ready to start working on my image. Now, something you're not going to see unless you hit HDR on this, unless you really blended exposures, is some light patterns that we didn't even see with the naked eye. If you'll notice, there's light shining right here, which is kind of coming from the sunset, coming right down the valley and hitting right over here that, you know, unless you bracket, you just don't see. It's still dark over here. I don't want this waterfall to be too dark. I don't want this area to be too dark. And before I start processing, I want it to start having the kind of emphasis on different things that I want it to have. So for that, I'm going to use a program called Vivesa 2, which is part of the Nik Effects tools. And here it is right here. And what it does is it's just really good for spot enhancing. And so I'm going to use my little control point here. And first I'm going to put it right on this falls right here. And I'm going to brighten. Oop, that's too big of a area. I want to concentrate on this falls. And I'm going to brighten my falls a little bit. There we go. And since it was kind of warm light, I'm going to add some warmth. There we go. And you can kind of see what it did there. Turning that off and on. Just brighten that so it doesn't look quite so dull. Now I'm going to add another little control point. And what it does is it mimics light. I'm going to bring it right down here. Make it pretty small. Because again, this is just too dark for my taste. Just bring it up just a little bit, not too much. There we go. And then here, I really want to emphasize, see how the light is touching the tops of these trees here and how it's hitting El Capitan here? To me, this is a key part of this whole image. So I'm going to add a control point here, right there on one of the tops of these trees. And I'm going to add brightness, a little contrast, and warmth. So I wanted to mimic the light that was hitting it, and of course it was very warm light hitting it. And there you can kind of see. And again, this isn't the final job here. Oops. See how I've just emphasized that light that was already there? All right, one more now on El Capitan. And I'm going to put one right on one of the lighter areas, and you can see over here in the bottom right, I'm going to put it on one of the lighter areas of El Capitan. Come down here, and I am going to brighten it, add some contrast, and you know, I'm going to be processing this after this, and add some warmth. So I want to mimic that warm light that's hitting it. Now down back here was still in shadow. So now there we go. Okay. Let that process for a second. All right, and so now you can kind of see what Vivesa did there. Added punch, 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 punch. All right. And here I'm going to do something that's bad. A lot of people don't like it, but I go ahead and flatten before I move to the next thing. Probably shouldn't, but all right, now I'm going to move to my Skylum 4, where we're really going to start adding some punch to this picture. And hopefully I haven't over-processed it before I get there. And here it comes up. This is going to be one of my longer videos, but this is just a difficult post-process to get this right. And it's worth, this shot, in my opinion, is so beautiful, it's worth the extra time. So I'm going to start here with, we've already done the basic changes to shadow and light and all this type of stuff. So I'm going to start with this great AI Enhance and just watch the magic. And again, we've already done a lot of processing here, so we don't need to do too much. A little sky enhance, maybe a little extra sky enhance, and the AI enhance. And that's pretty nice. Structure I'd actually like to take down. I want to soften this image just a little bit. There's a couple other ways to do it, but I'm going to start here. And then I'm going to come down to, let's take a quick look at golden hour, see if that helps anything. A little bit. Actually, I don't like golden hour that much. I'm not going to use it. Shut that off. I'm going to come back to vignette, move to mystical, which is going to soften this a little bit, make it look more natural. And then what I really want to do is down here, glow, soft glow. I just want to soften this image a little bit so it looks more natural. Let's see what that did. I think it softened it too much, didn't it? Let's see, right about there. So that looks pretty good to me. And we're going to say apply. That'll take a second, so I'll pause it again because this is going to be a really long video. I'll be right back. All right, so here is what we did with the Luminar before, after. It's kind of where we're at. And now it's just a matter of tweaking. The most important part of the rest of this image that I'm really worried about is I've got this down here. It looks actually pretty sharp. I'm pretty happy with that, thanks to the way we handled the sharpening and denoise. But to me, it doesn't have the punch I hope it would have. And I think the thing that's going to give this image the punch that it needs is going to be a really cool vignette. And that's where I'm going to go back into Luminar, but I'm going to do a separate duplicate layer here, like that. Now I'm going to go Filter, Skylum, Luminar. And now I think the vignette might be the most important part to really drawing my eye where I want it to go. And here we go. I'm going to choose my subject, which to me is right here. That's right where I want the eye to go. And the way they do vignette is that way for a lighter vignette, this way for a darker. So I'm going to darken it, hitting my advanced settings, just a little bit of inner light there. Come down, focus it just a tad. And hopefully that really drew your eye to where the sun was hitting. Now another thing that I think pardon it, I hit the wrong button. Another thing that I think is really going to add to this, and it's a bit of a cheat, so you can check out what sun rays are going to do. Right here, place sun center. If I really want to emphasize that this light is coming here and shining over there, I'm going to place this right here. What I'm really watching is where the light's hitting right here. And then maybe just a hint of those rays in the sky, and then warm the rays just a little bit. And as I say, it's a bit of a cheat. Bring down that overall look. So between the vignette and the sun rays, let that come on in here. That's what I just added. And you want to talk about some pop. You see how we darkened all this? We've got the eyes going exactly where we want to. We've even got these pretty, what I think are kind of subliminal lines coming right in there. And we really have the drama of this gorgeous sunrise that we got to witness. And then that's really my process of this. It's cool looking. Again, the sun rays are a bit of a cheat, but that's your decision whether you want to add something like that or not, or how you want to do it. And you know, you can tweak this by making more contrast here, or maybe, you know, adding warmth or color to the sky, however you want to do it. But that's essentially my post process of this, you know, pretty darn difficult image. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for coming to our workshop. And I really enjoyed meeting everybody. It was a great fun crowd. The positivity and just the general character of everybody involved in this made it so much fun. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you on another one. All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.